So is the Mark 8 Golf R 20 years a worthy anniversary model that will hold in high esteem for years to come, or is it just a bit of cynical marketing? Hello guys, and welcome back to the Volkswizard channel. Now, back in 2002 I'd launched Volkswizard to buy and sell interesting Volkswagen Group cars, and by sheer coincidence later that year Volkswagen launched one of their most interesting cars, the very first R Golf, the Mark IV Golf R32. Now, in those intervening 20 years I've driven every R Golf there is, and whilst I will always be a GTI man at heart, I still enjoy a good R, and that's why I'm super excited to share with you today the car that Volkswagen R have produced to celebrate their 20 years in business. It is, of course, the Mark 8 Golf R 20 years. Now, the purpose of this video is to work out whether the Golf R 20 years is a genuine anniversary model, or whether it's just a cynical marketing exercise with a few badges scattered all over it. Also, we're going to have a look at this tuned Mark 8 Golf R. It's from a company that's been tuning R Golfs since they came out for the whole 20 years. This is Racingline's Golf Mark 8 R demonstrator. It's been on the channel before. At the time it had the PCM tuning box. Well, now this car has had its ECU remap. That's a big development that's happened during 2022. Tuners are finally able to do that, and this car will produce stage 1 405 horsepower and 520 Newton meters of torque. If you like the sound of that, stay tuned, we'll have a look at it later on. Before we do that though, I just want to say big thanks to everybody who has subscribed to the channel. It means an awful lot to a small channel like this. If you haven't yet, then please do so. It could be the difference between this channel being around in 2023 or not. To do so, just click that icon on the bottom right of your screen, or there's a link in the description of the video below, or just seek out that famous red button and press that. Another way you can support the channel is to buy the Volkswizard 2023 calendar. This is the 4th year I've been making this calendar, and as usual it features my favourite cars of the last year. Now, you can buy it on eBay, so just search for Volkswizard calendar, or there's a link to the eBay advert in the description of the video below. It's now just under 2 weeks before Christmas, so I can still post them first class. They should get to you. If they don't make it for Christmas, so I'm pretty sure they will make it for the new year. They're just going to stay on sale until they're sold. Only 100 have been made this year, and I think I've got about 60 or so left. So yeah, please support the channel and buy the Volkswizard calendar. Okay, before we have a closer look at the outside and the inside of the R20, I just need to point out this Volkswagen UK press car has got about £2,500 worth of factory options on it, making it just over £50,000 on the road. If that sounds expensive, some of the other press fleet cars are over £55,000. So this is relatively modestly spec'd, but it's probably spec'd how I would spec an R20 if I could afford one. So firstly, we've got lapis blue pearl effect paint. That's £835. The classic R colour. It's been around for nearly 9 years. Looks just as good today as it did back in 2014. If you want a more low-key R, you can have deep black for £690, but you'll be polishing that every weekend. At least with lapis blue, could be every other weekend. Or if you don't want to polish your car at all, there's pure white, which is the standard free colour. We've still only got 3 to choose from, but they are pretty good colours for the R. This car's got the rear view camera, which is £320 extra. It's also got my favourite DCC dynamic chassis control. Like on every Mark 8, it's got 15 different adjustments for it, which is probably about 12 more than you actually need, but it's a no-brainer on any hot Golf, particularly on a Mark 8 Golf R with the performance pack, because it might say ring mode on the screen, but if you haven't got DCC, you haven't got the dampers in comfort mode, you haven't got the most important parts of the ring mode. Okay, so that's the options. Now, how does this R20 look different to the normal R on the outside? Well, you can probably work out it's quite subtle. So the mirrors and the wheels are key. Now, on black and white, you can spec blue faced estorils if you want, and I think you get blue mirror casings. So you have to have blue mirror casings, but you don't have to have the blue wheels on the black and the white car. You can't have the blue wheels on the Lapis Blue R20 and you get the black mirror casings. So yeah, they probably thought blue is a bit too much. Normally the mirror casings are silver, by the way, so I think it looks really good like this. But does it look that different to the normal R? Well, no, and it's probably not going to change your opinion on that when I show you what else is different. So at the front we have got a blue R badge instead of silver. So that's the only way you're really going to notice this car on the road. Same at the back, the folded paperclip under the Volkswagen badge is also blue. Also, on the dagger badges on the wings, the R logo is now blue instead of silver. I shouldn't forget, there's a little 20 badge on the B pillar, which is black, so it doesn't really stand out, but it's, you know, it's cool. But yeah, it's better than decals down the side of it, I guess. Okay, let's have a look inside the R20 and see how it differs from the normal Golf R. Well, it's very nice inside the R20, but it's not night and day different to the normal Mark 8 Golf R, particularly if you spec the Napa leather interior we'll talk about shortly. However, there are some subtle changes here and there that do make all the difference. Firstly, we have the first ever use of carbon fibre inside a Volkswagen, so we have a full width inlay on the dashboard. We have inlays in the front doors, though sadly not in the back doors. It's not the nicest carbon fibre I've ever seen. It hasn't got much depth to it, but it's still apparently real carbon fibre, and it's unique to the R20. We also have puddle lights that beam R20 onto the ground when you open the door in the dark. We've got blue, not silver, R logos on the key and on the steering wheel. Wow. And most importantly though, we have got the Napa leather as standard on the R20, so a £2,780 option on the normal Golf R. Sounds expensive, it is expensive, but it's not just leather. You have heated seats, cooled seats, electric adjustment of the driver's seat only, I should point out, and also memory function for the driver's seat. So they're very high spec seats. They've got blue R logos in them. It's not exclusive to the R20, and they've got this blue tinge to them because in the perforations it's blue, which looks really cool. Again, I don't think that's exclusive to the R20. It's a difficult option to justify on the normal Golf R because it's quite a high proportion of the £40,000 purchase price, but as a finishing touch to the R20, I think they are really rather lovely. They make the cabin feel much more like a £50,000 car cabin should feel, and so does a little feature that's not exclusive to the R20 or even the normal Golf R. Every Mark 8 Golf built from the middle of 22 now has a gloss black centre console instead of matte black plastic. Now this does look really good today, but it'll get fingerprints and it will get scratches if you're not really careful. So that's one to watch. It does make me sort of chuckle that on forums and on my video comments everybody's complaining about the amount of piano black in the Mark 8 Golf, and what do Volkswagen do? They give us more of it. Anyway, now let's have a look under the bonnets. Now, back in late 2020, just before the Mark 8 Golf R was revealed to the world, I made a little video previewing the car, and in it I mentioned how in the back of a normal Golf 8 owner's manual there was a very mysterious 333 horsepower engine mentioned. In that video I think I said it was probably going to end up in something like a Golf R Performance. Well, here it is today. It's great to finally meet it. So we've got 13 metric horsepower more than the standard Mark 8 Golf R, 333. Torque though remains the same at 420 Newton meters. The power to weight ratio is a little bit better. You've got 214 brake horsepower per tonne as opposed to 206 brake horsepower per tonne in the normal Mark 8 Golf R, though in reality it's not really that different. If you were to carry a passenger in an R20 you'd lose all that advantage. Put it this way, if test driver Benny Loyster, he's a very small guy, he only weighs 9.5 stone, was driving a normal R, and a 19 stone driver, quite a big boy, was driving an R20, Benny in the normal R would win a drag race. Now if that's not an idea for a car wow drag race, I don't know what is. Apart from a little bit more power, there are some subtle changes to the engine. So we've got a throttle flap that remains open, so that should increase response, and we've got a turbo that keeps on spinning in between gear changes, which reduces lag. So they call it basically a version of anti-lag for the street. Well, it all sounds very good, but does it actually make a difference to how the Mark 8 Golf R drives? Well, let's go and find out now. Now actually, before we get driving, I want to demonstrate a function that's actually been on the normal Mark 8 Golf R, but I don't think anybody actually knew about it. It's been promoted a bit more with the R20. It's called the emotion start. And that means that if you do a certain sequence with the starting of the car, you get the revs flare on startup, and I think a few pops and bangs. It's a little bit childish, but hey, let's give it a go anyway. So all you have to do really is hold the start button down until it tells you to depress the brake to start, and then hold the start button while you press the brake. And that's up to 2,500 RPM, so we've got a couple of bangs there. Let me just compare that to the normal start, which is just pressing the brake first. And that's sort of a little bit less. On the normal 8R, it goes up to, I think, 2,000, and this is 2,500 RPM. It's not as in your face as I thought it was going to be. Anyway, we're going to do this test in ring mode. So let's set race, and we go into special mode. So the dampers are in comfort, everything else is aggressive. And the 0 to 60 time of the R20 is actually only 0.1 of a second quicker than the normal Golf R, so that's 4.6 versus 4.7. Obviously people have done tests with them, and they've been, some cars will do under 4 seconds, which is remarkable. So to a degree it's quite academic. I was hoping to get it on the dyno here at Racingline, but unfortunately the dyno isn't working, so they couldn't do it. They wanted to see if it would dyno any higher than the normal car. The engine code is different, so it would be very interesting to see. So we'll hopefully get a car back and dyno it. Now, at the Nürburgring, this car was a good few seconds quicker than the normal Mark 8 Golf R. I think it's about 7 over a lap, which isn't anything to be sniffed at. It was initially quite embarrassing, I thought, for Volkswagen that it was 0.12 of a second, so just over a tenth of a second slower around a lap than the Mark 7 Golf GTI Club Sport S. But thinking about it, the Club Sport S makes a lot of compromises to get that time. There's no back seat, it's really noisy, it's on Cup 2 tyres, it's 3-door only. This is a luxurious car. We've got 4-wheel drive for weather like this. There's a lot more to this car than a Club Sport S, so actually it's to its credit that it got so close to the Club Sport S. Imagine what a stripped out one of these would do then. Maybe we'll get that one day. Anyway, the chassis is the same as the one in the normal Mark 8 Golf R, so we don't really need to find a British B road. Maybe it's better, maybe they've revised it a bit, but I always found it slightly lacking compared to my Club Sport, which I owned at the same time when I drove a press office about 18 months ago. But what we're going to demonstrate today, we're going to try and see if we can feel the changes to the engine, so that throttle flap being open, increasing response, and the anti-lag for the street, which keeps the turbo spinning as well. They're all pretty cool things, but I just wonder why we don't get them on cars normally. Why have they just saved it for this? Is there a downside? Well, let's try and find out. So we're not on a B road today, we're going to use the famous roundabouts of Milton Keynes, and they're pretty good because they're 70 miles an hour. They're actually well gritted, which is quite important today because it's sub-zero right now. We're on Bridgestone sport tyres, I think the ones that won the Evo tyre test, somewhat to my surprise, so they're pretty decent tyres apparently. Okay guys, here we are on the dual carriageways of Milton Keynes in the R20 years, which did a nice 4-wheel drift just then. But we're not testing the chassis, it's the same as the normal Mark 8 Golf R with DCC. We're here to see if we can feel the added response, which is from the turbo being left spinning to reduce lag and the intake flap being kept open. We've also got the gearbox in manual mode, in ring mode, which we should feel a bit more jerking with the gear change. Let's see then. There's definitely a distinct sort of lunge there between gears. Yeah, you can feel the car doing that, which is pretty cool. It feels a lot more engaging. You can feel that gear slam home. When they're seamless, it's great when you're not in the mood for all that. You know, the smooth gear changing of the 7-speed from the Mark 7.5 onwards is brilliant, but it can feel a bit like an electric car, which is kind of ironic because Volkswagen are going to be the performance electric car arm of Volkswagen. So yes, you can feel it hold back and then go. Yeah, that's definitely really obvious. Is it more responsive? Well, the Mark 8 Golf R Standard that I drove 18 months ago is actually the car that did less than 4 seconds to 60 with CarWow. That car had a lot of top end, but it did feel a little bit flat down below, and I would say this does feel sharper. We haven't got the Akrapovic, that's still an option, but we've got pops and bangs, we've got more of them at lower revs with the R20. Just feels, yeah, a little dab of throttle and it's lunging forward. I would say that is more responsive. Now, I'd love to drive the normal Mark 8 Golf R back to back with this car, but all I can say is when I drove that car 18 months ago, I was not smiling like this. It felt a little bit disappointing compared to my Club Sport, which I did drive back to back with it, but this is definitely not disappointing. In fact, I want to do that again. So on these roundabouts, it feels just like four-wheel drift, and then off we go. And we've got proper manual shifting. It won't change up for you. I think my smile says it all. So is the Mark 8 Golf R 20 years a worthy anniversary model that will hold in high esteem for years to come, or is it just a bit of cynical marketing? Well, I'm pleased to report it's actually a great car. Okay, the performance isn't night and day different to the standard Mark 8 Golf R, but that could do 0 to 60 in less than 4 seconds anyway. What's different is that instead of depending on gimmicks like drift mode or drag race victories to sell cars, Volkswagen have now made this car drive better where it matters, not on a drag strip or a skid pan, but on the road. Is it value for money though? Well, if you think the Mark 8 Golf R is value for money at just under £43,000, then at £48,000 the R20 is certainly no worse value for money, especially if you're going to order the leather and the performance pack. What makes the decision easier is that Volkswagen have deleted the performance pack option from the standard car. So if you want it now, and believe me, you do, you have to have the R20. As for the leather, well, I've never been a big fan of the standard R interior, and whilst it's a costly option on the normal R, as part of the special R20 package, it seems to make a lot more sense. That just leaves £620 for the underbonnet witchcraft. More pops and bangs, more of the time, including the more emotional emotion start, and you get the different badges and the kudos of having the very first anniversary R model. And that kudos does something very interesting when you look at financing the car. Over 4 years and 10,000 miles per year with a £10,000 deposit, you have to pay £596 for a no option R20. That compares to £491 for a no option Golf R. But if you spec a normal Golf R to the same price as the R20, obviously you can't include performance pack, but there are other options you can add to make it the same £48,500. That's £626 per month. It's more if you have the standard Golf R spec'd to the level of the R20, and that's because the value of the normal R at the end of the finance term, regardless of how you spec it, is the same, and that's a whole £2,300 less than the R20, and you have to pay that £2,300 deficit with every monthly payment. So there we have it, guys, a Golf R20 for less than the price of a normal Mark 8 Golf R. But if that's not good enough for you, let's have a quick drive in the Racingline demonstrator with somewhere over 400 horsepower. Okay, here we are driving the Mark 8 Golf R demonstrator from Racingline. Now, it's changed a bit since I last saw this car. It had a tuning box then. Now it's got a full engine ECU remap. Tuning boxes are great. You can take them off when you sell the car, but they don't allow the engine to produce the same power as a remap. It's taken a couple of years for the tuners to crack the ECU on these cars, but they've finally done it now. So instead of 360 horsepower from the tuning box, we've got 405 horsepower. Instead of about 460 newton meters of torque, we've got 520, and this is only stage one. It costs £600 plus that, £720, which is an interesting figure, because if you spec a normal Golf R, when you could do with leather and performance pack, you had about £700 left over. If you spent it on this remap, you would have a car that's much faster than the faster production Golf that is the R20. So let's just demonstrate. I'm going to put the car in ring mode. And we're on the dual carriageways of Milton Keynes, which are well gritted. It's -1 at the moment. We're on Goodyear Eagle F1 Super Sport tyres, which I know really well. Ah, Jesus! Christ the Lord is born this Christmas morning. That is just insane. Okay, it's going to be tricky to keep it under the speed limit, but we need to do that. So let's just go down to third, right. Oh. And 70. I don't believe that. Let's just do that again. So third gear, 43 miles an hour. 70. That's just crazy. I've got to do that again. So the beauty of the R's is that in this kind of weather they just put the power down so well. I like my Club Sport, but actually driving this today I kind of appreciate the R a lot more. Okay, so that's 40 miles an hour in third. Let's go back a bit. 40. Let's go. 70. Guys, well, there you go. So if you want the fastest Golf, not the fastest production Golf, then you know where to go. Now, if you want me to do a full review of this car, then say so in the comments. Racingline will see that, and they'll give me the keys for a lot longer than they have today. So yeah, this is next level to the R20. The R20 is good. But this is, yeah, just crazy. Now, I know what you're going to say, warranty and all that. It's true, you will invalidate your warranty if you put a remap on it. But the Golf R is actually Mark 8, 2 years old. I think probably January 23. So there's another year till they go out of warranty. I think you'd be very unlucky that if it hasn't gone wrong yet, to go wrong now. So yeah, either wait till it's up or just keep your fingers crossed and just enjoy the crazy performance. Well guys, it's now dark and it's the end of a very, very cold day. It's still hovering around freezing, but I think it's been well worth it. I hope you guys think so too. Thanks for watching this Volkswizard video, and big thanks to those of you who replied with a yes when I asked on Instagram if you wanted me to review the Golf R 20 years. I think your support has actually made it happen, and also big thanks to Volkswagen UK for lending me the car. As ever guys, keep subscribing, keep on commenting. I do nowadays read them all and reply to nearly all of them. I do enjoy that interaction with you guys, so keep it up, and I'll see you for the next video, hopefully very soon. Before I go though, I just want to show you this R lapel badge. This is Racingline found them in a drawer, and they're from like 20 years ago. They've got some other types as well, like R32 badge ones, and they're only quite small, as you can see. There's my finger, but they're really nice sort of little things to have if you want one, say for Christmas. Have a look at the Racingline website. I gather they're on there for sale.